You may or may not realise that Australia's Little River Band were the first ever Aussie band to score gold and platinum albums in the US. But by the mid-80s, things were going a different way for them. But with John Farnham heading a revamped lineup, they played to win, but sadly didn't. But 40 years on, it's time to re-evaluate the lost LRB classic that is playing to win. Welcome to Acting is Reacting with me, JSB. Today it is my first random full play for 2025, so if you joined me for one of those last year, you'll know that's where I put an album on shuffle and we just listen to the first 4 songs that come up. Well, stick around because there is a revamp of the format for this year, but I'll come to that in a little bit. So the album is indeed the 8th from the Little River Band, Playing to Win, released in January 1985. This is the second of 3 albums they made with John Farnham on the lead vocals, and came after a period of upheaval in the band's ranks. After the first Farnham-era album, which was The Net, and Farnham's great vocals aside, not one of the stronger LRB albums to these big things, they lost founding members Derek Pellicci from drums and guitarist vocalist Bea Birtles. So now, only another guitarist vocalist and one of the band's key songwriters, Graham Goebel, was left from the classic lineup. So with him and, of course, Mr. Farnham, you've got Steve Housden on guitar and Wayne Nelson on bass and vocals, both of whom joined the band in the tail end of the Glenn Sharrock era. And then new boys for this release are Steve Prestwich here on drums, fresh from Cold Chisel, and in the top middle here we have David Hirshfelder joining on keyboards, marking the first time they had a full-time keyboardist in the band. And if you think that's going to drastically change the sound, well, you'd be right. This is the mid-80s, and boy does it sound like it, but more or less in a good way. But it's not the classic LRB sound. If you're expecting that, you won't find it here. But what you will find in common with all the best LRB albums is great vocals and a great batch of songs. So let's dive in and hear our first random track of the day. And that is going to be this one. One Shot in the Dark. There's those 80s keyboards. I did warn you it was 80s. I wasn't joking. There are the harmonies, still intact. And John sounds great, as he always did and does. Stephen Housden here on guitar, one of the primary writers of the song with Graham Goebel, and Malcolm Wakefield, who, well, might mention him again later, we'll see.
There was one shot in the dark last night.
Right, coming to the end of track number 1, but before we get to track number 2, a few things. I'm going to guess, probably the weakest track we're going to hear today for a number of reasons, but nevertheless, it's a good way to kick off this random foreplay and give you the sound of what this album is, because it's that. 80s production everywhere. It's also a great time to smash that like button if you haven't done so already. Now, I mentioned before that there is a revamp of my random foreplay format for this year, and what would normally happen is I would just go straight through the next 3 songs and hear them whatever they were. But what I'm going to be doing is more like what I do on my live streams, where I have a playlist on random that selects songs in a kind of best of 3 style. So for the album's remaining 9 songs, that's what I'll be doing. I'll see what the next 3 songs are and choose one of them for us to listen to, 3 times. You're following me, I know, because you're smart. So I hope you approve of my choices as we go along, but make sure to let me know in the comments either way. So my first choice of 3 tracks is going to look something like this. All right. Through Her Eyes is the first option. My second, Piece of the Dream, or Count Me In. Interestingly, 2 of those tracks have Wayne Nelson on the lead vocals instead of John Farnham. I think it's polite to give him a shot, so let's go with Piece of the Dream. And this one is written by Wayne Nelson with David Hirshfelder. So of course it's Wayne on lead vocals here, a controversial figure in LRB, which I might discuss later, but great vocals on the chorus, so you get plenty of John just the same. And maybe a bit of JSP, if you're unlucky. The one I need. If it should fall in my hands, I never take it for granted. Yeah, I'll stop, don't worry. I cannot compete with these guys. Prominent bass work for this particular track as well, for obvious reasons, given it's written by a bass player. Put it on there. So I hope you can hear by now what I mean about great vocals being the thing that binds this to the rest of the Little River Band catalogue. But alright, it's going to be a time for me to choose our third track of the day in just a second. My next three to choose from will be Reappear, the title track, Playing to Win, and Blind Eyes. Now this is what can happen on this version of the format. I would definitely choose the title track, and I would definitely choose Blind Eyes if they came up in any other combination. But here, I can only choose one of them. It's going to be Blind Eyes, because this is my favourite song from this album. Was the second single. The title track was the first and didn't do much. This one did nothing. But it's a great Farnham vocal, shocking, and yeah, a great moody minor key piece about, well, I'll let them tell the story. So this is written by John, David Hirshfelder and Ray Chapman. Did I tell you John sang amazingly on this one? Did you believe me? Only gets better from here. Do you think Phil Collins heard the song and turned it into Another Day in Paradise a few years later? Maybe. But not, but maybe. Nice fade out here, so that means there will just be one more song after this. If you've been paying attention, and I haven't really, you should know what 3 songs are left if you know this album for me to choose from. See, I think I know which one I'm going for, but I can't think what the other 2 are. So, well, let's find out right now. First option is going to be, that's the one I was thinking of, When Cathedrals Were White. So I'll probably come back to that, but what were the other 2? They are Don't Blame Me, pretty cool, and Relentless. But yeah, of those 3, I am indeed going back to When Cathedrals Were White. Like I say, if you know this album and you've been following along with my choices, I hope you approve. If you're new to this album, I hope you're enjoying it. And if you're a John Farnham fan who's never come back to the LRB albums, what you been doing? He's incredible on this one as well. Again, no shock, is it? In this booklet, the songs are all printed out of chronological order, so it's right at the back. So yeah, this is Graham Goebel, David Hirshfelder and Stephen Housen collaborating on the song. Hirshfelder's keys, they really are leaning into the cathedral element here, whilst also still sounding as mid-80s as you could possibly get. But I love it. The excellent drumming from Steve Prestwich on this whole album, but this track in particular, I think. He'd only made the 2 albums with them, and this lineup lasted one more album after this, which did even less than this one. And it's probably an even better album, to be fair. It's less 80s for a start. I'll talk about that in the library with you in just a sec. Yeah. All right, there we are. 4 randomish tracks from Playing to Win. And obviously, the big loss there was the title track, but go and listen to that. I mean, that is one song that from this era John still does, or at least did, in his live shows an awful lot. I saw him do it when he opened for Stevie Nicks in 2000 and something, last time I saw him. Of course, the first time I saw him, I was 7, and he was opening for Billy Joel, my first gig ever. So, yeah, John's been a big part of my life for a long, long time. But I really love his LRB stuff much more than his solo albums, where the material, some of it's great, but much of it is not so much. Although, of course, he sounds great on every single thing he ever sings. Anyhow, as I say, this album didn't do much. It made 75 in the US and was the last album by them to chart there. 38 in Australia, and oddly, it made number 18 in New Zealand. I don't know why, because I never heard anything from this on the radio there. But there you go. Of course, the follow-up was No Rains, an excellent album that did almost nothing anywhere, and was the album that John decided, well, this isn't working. If I'm going to put this much effort into something, I might as well do it on my own terms. And off he went, and Our Legend Was Born. Whispering Jack came out later that same year, and he basically never looked back. And as to what happened to LRB, well, that's a story for another day. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed hearing mid-80s LRB, and if it was your first time hearing this era, as I say, it can take a bit of adjusting because it doesn't sound like any of the classic hits from the earlier albums, but it's still really good, and I think it warrants a re-evaluation. So hopefully I played a tiny part in that happening for at least 3 people. Nice. If you did enjoy that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because I do this kind of thing with all sorts of albums from all sorts of eras and styles and genres. There's bound to be something else that you're interested in, I promise. And if there's not, then just listen anyway, because you can learn stuff. And I'm fun. Yay. If that's not enough to tell you, I don't know what is. But let me know down below about that or anything else, because I'm always interested in what you think. All right, well, that is it for today, but there are suggestions floating around my head for what you should move on to next from YouTube, and I shall simply say bye for now, but not for long.
Acting is reacting. This does not mean acting again.